Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you from Lancaster, Virginia, the latest news and recaps in the world of professional wrestling. Welcome to the Wrestling Artistry Podcast. And now, here's your host, Andre Smith.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Wrestling Artistry Podcast. I am your host, Andre Smith, and today I am going to be reviewing AEW Rampage and NXT 2.0. First, I am going to say that, this is also for the people that are viewing the YouTube podcast, don't forget to hit that like. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. And for the people, for everyone else who's listening to the audio version, do not forget to go to Podbean and listen to the episode, download it, and all that other good stuff. Anyway, back to the podcast. I'm going to review AEW Rampage from the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. First match of the night was Adam Cole versus Dark Order's Evil Uno. Cole seems to be in a serious mood tonight at this night as he is not playing, starting off with Big Boot and just beating down Uno. Uno makes a comeback when he delivers a neck breaker to Cole. Cole comes back with two super kicks and then lowers the boom for the win. Cole gets on the mic demanding respect and says that at the end of the day, he will be the AEW World Champion. I think it's about time he goes for that belt. Speaking of belts, we had the TBS champion, Jade Cargill. Apparently she has been hearing, some people say about her that she is very green in the ring. But she says that she's green like money. Anyway, she has a lot of confidence in herself, that's for sure. TNT's champ, Sammy Guevara, goes up against Isaiah Cassidy for the TNT Championship. Sammy has his ribs taped up. Guevara had the advantage most of the match until Matt Hardy executed the side effect to Guevara onto the ring apron. Guevara goes with the GTH, but the ribs just hurt too much. Andrade shows up for more distraction. Cassidy does a swanton onto Sammy's ribs, but only gets a 2 count. Sammy hits a flying cutter for a near fall. He finally hits the GTH for the win. AHFO looks to attack Sammy, but Darby Allin shows up to have his back. As the heels leave the ring, Allin looks at the TNT belts that Sammy has, shows Sammy respect. Looking forward to them having another match, because they have real good matches with each other. Chris Statlander gets attacked by Layla Hirsch along with a steel chair. So this feud is far from over. Speaking of feuds, we have Thunder Rosa versus Mercedes Martinez. The action was hot and heavy here. Mercedes delivered an avalanche Death Valley driver for a very near fall. Martinez lays Rosa with a steel pipe for a disqualification, which ended a very looked like a grudge match between the two. Later on, as Tony Schiavone interviews Martinez, AEW Women's Champ Britt Baker had a problem that Mercedes lost by disqualification. Baker makes it clear that she doesn't want Martinez to lose again, and that if she does what she is told, or else Baker makes sure that Mercedes' time in AEW is shorter than the last place she worked. Ouch. Main event for Rampage for the FTW Championship, we have Jay Lethal versus the champion Ricky Starks. Lethal was doing his signature suicide dives, but then Hobbs stopped his momentum. Lethal hits lethal combination for a very near fall. Starks hits a Liger bomb for a near fall. And what I thought was an amazing counter to Lethal. Lethal went for the lethal injection, but as he came off the ropes in midair, Ricky Starks countered with a Rochambeau for the win. So Ricky Starks retains and still remains the FTW champion. All right, next up we have WWE NXT from Tuesday night. We have the semifinals of the Dusty Rhodes Classic Tag Team Tournament as the Creed brothers goes up against the Grizzled Young Veterans. Action starts off hot and heavy. The Creed brothers were dominant for the first few minutes, and clearly they were also the crowd favorite here. The veterans, Gibson and Drake, took Brutus Creed's throat. They did like a slingshot maneuver onto the underneath of the ring where the ring apron was and the steel. That looked brutal. And from that point on, Brutus's throat was the focal point of the attack. Later on, Julius tags in and cleans house. At one point, he had Drake in a stretch buffalo submission, but Drake reversed into a guillotine submission. As Julius and Gibson were fighting outside the ring, Drake flies out of the ring with a dive. Julius eats a doomsday device from the veterans, but Julius' foot was on the ropes. Brutus and Gibson go toe-to-toe, but Gibson hits Brutus in the weakened throat. As Brutus had Gibson in the corner, Julius hopped onto his brother's back and executed a superplex. After Brutus leveled Gibson with a clubbing clothesline, he pins Gibson to advance in the tournament finals. The next up, we have Tiffany Stratton versus Wendy Choo. Stratton demands her daddy's credit card, but Choo doesn't have it. After some back and forth action, Stratton hits a corkscrew splash for the pinfall win. Next match, we have Pete Dunne versus Draco Anthony. Before the match, Joe Gacy and Harlan approached Anthony, saying that he doesn't have to do this alone. During the match, Draco was holding his own, but gets too cocky when he tries to stomp onto Dunn's hands. He proceeds to dismember Anthony's arm with all his joint mutilation. Well, it could be joint mutilation with Pete Dunne. Joint manipulation. Draco comes back with a clothesline. Tony D'Angelo tries to hit Dunn with a crowbar, but it backfires. Dunn hits the bitter end on Draco for the pinfall win. Afterwards, Dunn throws a bunch of weapons in the ring and challenges Tony to a weaponized steel cage match. We have Io Shirai looking for a tag team partner for the Women's Dusty Tag Team Classic. The next match, LA Knight versus Sanga. The heavy, the bodyguard, whatever you would call it, for Grayson Waller. Before the match, for some reason, Dakota Kai was looking through the stuff that Wendy Choo bought. Knight tries to knock the big man down, but to no avail. Sanga shrugs off a BFT attempt and drops a big elbow for a near fall. Grayson Waller takes off a turnbuckle pad, distracting the ref, but it backfires on him as Knight causes Sanga to run chest first into the exposed turnbuckle. At the neck breaker, Knight beats Sanga via pinfall to get the victory. And then later on that night, as in relation to this match, Grayson Waller says he will, at Vengeance Day, which is next week, he will have LA Knight arrested. We'll see how that goes. NXT Championship Summit is next, conducted by Wade Barrett. As NXT, we have Braun Breaker, the NXT champion, in the ring with Santos Escobar. As NXT champ, Braun Breaker and No. 1 contender Santos Escobar go back and forth, Dolph Ziggler comes out, which was a surprise. Ziggler says he works Tuesdays now, and then he ran down his list of accolades, but he never held the NXT title. I guess basically throwing out a challenge. Next, Tommaso Ciampa comes out, gets up in Ziggler's face, and then all hell breaks loose. A brawl broke up between Ciampa and Ziggler. And then Legado del Fantasma jumps Breaker and then puts him through a table. Next match, we have Dakota Kai versus Saray. This had to be Saray's toughest challenge to date. Kai showed plenty of offense, but Saray got the win at the end with the Saito suplex. India Hartwell and Precious Parada are talking while the NXT Women's Tag Champs, JC Jane and G. Dolan of Toxic Attraction, try to stir stuff up between the best friends. The champs end up showing a picture of Indy hanging out with none other than Duke Hudson, which end up ending in a brawl. And next up we have the semifinals, the second semifinal match of the Dusty Tag Team Classic between MSK and the underdogs Edris and Nofe and Malik Blade. Pretty much even matchup so far. MSK take advantage with some of the double team work, which they are known for. They do some awesome tag team maneuvers. Blade and Nofe take back control soon after. Wesley gets tagged in and the momentum changes. Nofe rolls up lead for a very near fall. MSK hits the spine-buster blockbuster combination to meet the Creed brothers in the finals. For our main event, we have, for the NXT Women's Championship, Mandy Rose, the champion, representing Toxic Attraction, versus Kaylee Ray, longest reigning NXT UK Women's Champion of all time. The match starts off as a fight. The crowd is split between the two ladies. Ray hits a tornado DDT for a near fall. Rose, during the match, amps up the aggression some. Ray executes a moonsault, and after a near fall, tries for a submission. Rose reverses it into a near fall. Ray tries to KLR bomb, but Rose counters with a power bomb for a 2 count. As Ray went to the top rope, JC Jane distracted the ref, while Dolan pushed Ray off the top rope, causing Rose to hit the running knee to get the pinfall and retain her title. As Toxic Attraction were getting ready to beat down Ray, Io Shirai shows up and cleans house to save the day as the show ends. So, my assumption here is that Io Shirai would choose Kaylee Ray as her tag team partner. And if that happens, the rest of the teams in that tag team tournament, I think, are going to be in trouble. Especially if they coexist. But anyway. I didn't get into much of recent news this time because things have been hectic, but I did manage to dig up some, past wrestling news from yesterday. But I will just name this little section This Week in Wrestling History. This is falling on the day of February the 8th. As I record this was having to be yesterday, like as I said earlier. On this day, these historical items come courtesy of PW Insider. Shout out to them. On this day in 1917, the World Heavyweight Champion Earl Caddock defeats title claimant Walter Zbyszko in Des Moines, Iowa. In 1971, the WWF held an event at Madison Square Garden in New York City. So a couple of those results included Blackjack Mulligan defeated Tony Marino. The Gorilla Monsoon fought WWF International Tag Team Champion Pipo Mongo in a double countout. Bruno Sammartino defeated the other half of the WWF International Tag Team Champions Jito Mongo by submission with a backbreaker. And perhaps the most notable event that happened on this day in 1971, WWF United States Heavyweight Champion Pedro Morales pinned WWF World Heavyweight Champion Ivan Koloff to win the title. The way this match went down, Koloff had Morales in a waistlock, with Morales kicking off the top turnbuckle and falling on top of Koloff with both of their shoulders down. The referee began counting, with Morales lifting a shoulder after the 2 count. Bruno Sammartino, whom Koloff had defeated 3 weeks earlier for the title, came out and congratulated Morales after the match. As a result of his winning the world title, Morales' United States title was vacated. I need to do some research on what happened at that. 1975, Ric Flair defeats Paul Jones for the NWA Mid-Atlantic Television title in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, ending Jones' second reign. This was Flair's second ever pro wrestling title. Hard to imagine, right? 1983, Victor Jovica defeats Ric Flair and Cuba Trinidad to win the NWA World Heavyweight title. However, this title change is not recognized by the NWA. That happened quite a few times, quite a bit back then. I'm not sure why. Another subject that maybe I should research. 1986, the WWF held an event at the Boston Garden in Boston, Massachusetts. Couple of the results here. George Steele pinned Tiger Chung Lee after ramming him into the exposed middle turnbuckle. Hillbilly Jim defeated Big John Studd by countout as the Studd hit the ring post. Lanny Powerful pinned Paul Christie with a moonsault. CV Alfie pinned Barry over a flying body press. And another notable thing happened here. The Macho Man Randy Savage with Miss Elizabeth pinned WWF Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana to win the title, after Savage hit Santana in the head with a foreign object while Santana had him up for a suplex. Santana continued to defend the title until it aired on television on February 24th, Primetime Wrestling. I want to say back then, when they taped wrestling, it was like off kilter with some of the live events, so they had to do adjustments at the time. It's not like it is now where basically everything's instantaneous, but they had a delay back then. 1997, Tully Blanchard defeats Lady Killer in a tournament final in Norfolk, Virginia for the vacant NWA United States Heavyweight title. This is my first time on this. Interesting. Beginning his second reign. The title had been vacant since September 1993 when WCW, who had control of the title, left the NWA. Interesting bit of news there. And that's basically all I have right now for this week in wrestling history. So what y'all guys say? Should I go ahead and include this every week? Should I elaborate more on recent events? Or, what y'all think I should do? Personally, I think it'd be a cool idea, but maybe I will include it. Give a break from today's wrestling and stuff. Just, reflect on the past and what led up to, the wrestling of today, or contribute to it. And I guess that'll be it for this week's edition of Wrestling Artistry, the Wrestling Artistry Podcast. And be sure, tonight on AEW Dynamite, Isaiah Cassidy is supposed to be fighting a mystery opponent who's going to be signing with AEW. So be sure to tune in, keep your ears open to see who that person could be. And now that'll be it for now. Be sure to tune in next week for another edition of the Wrestling Artistry Podcast. And until then, fans, so long for now.